Alright, hi guys. So, as promised, I'm doing a video about coconut milk. I can't remember if I promised it on any of my YouTube videos, but I have promised it on my personal blog that I do through Facebook. So I'm doing it here so that I can share the link to come here through Facebook. So, I'm going to kind of show you and talk to you about it. I'll probably make a video of me actually making it a little bit later and post it, but I just kind of want to talk to you about it right now. So the reason behind me trying to figure out how to make my own coconut milk is because I'm not exactly like lactose intolerant or anything. I just have issues with drinking milk, and it's usually only milk. Sometimes I can drink like organic, non pasteurized milk and stuff a little bit here and there, I'll be fine. But I found it's just better for me to stay away from it. I can have it in things that when you cook or bake things and it doesn't bother me. But for drinking anything, or like if I want to make hot chocolate or just want more milk, or just regular, just drinking a glass here and there, then I find that I need to have coconut milk so I don't feel sick after and just feel blah for days. So I was buying coconut milk, and when I moved back home, my mom was purchasing it for me. And the one thing that I had a hard time with is it was either too sweet or too bland, or there was like a weird aftertaste that I couldn't stand. And then it's also super expensive just for a half gallon. Excuse me. So I actually stopped drinking it for a while and had my mom stop buying it because I felt like it wasn't worth the money that I was paying for and what my mom was paying for it, and that if I decided I craved it and needed it, then I would get some. So I think there was probably like a 6-month period where I wasn't drinking any type of milk whatsoever. If I did give in, then it was a little bit here and there of the Winter Farm milk that my mom gets for my little brother, but then I would regret it like a day later. So then I stopped. And so I wasn't exactly looking how to make coconut milk. I actually just stumbled upon it when I was looking up like zero waste videos. I can't remember her YouTube name, but as soon as I do, and when I make the how to make coconut video step by step, I will put a link to her video in my description. That way you guys can see how I make it versus how she makes it, type of a thing. And I did change and mess with her recipe a little bit to make it fit better for me. So it is different. And she does a couple like other milks, like almond milk, cashew milk. I think she even said that you can do it with any nut milk. You can make it this way. And I just thought that what a great way to save, because most of the time when you go, especially if you try to go zero waste and you go to buy a nut milk, it is usually in a waxy carton container, and those, at least in my area, are not recyclable. And the nut milks that aren't in those are more expensive, and they're in a plastic container. It's like big at the bottom, then it goes up small at the top, I guess, kind of like those orange juice containers. And I don't like the taste of those ones. Oh, I can't stand those ones. And so there's not really a lot of options, especially when, like I said, you're trying to go waste free and you are not drinking cow's milk, and so you go into nut milk, whether it's because you're vegan, you're lactose intolerant, or you're just decided that you want to try something new. There's not really a lot of options out there. And so I was super happy when I stumbled upon her video and she shows you how to make tons of things. So I'll probably reference her videos a lot and share a link to her videos just so you can see like how amazing she is. So how you make it is like super easy. You need 2 ingredients, like for coconut milk, that is. And like that's another thing, I'm like, 2 ingredients, are you serious? That can't be all you need for coconut milk, because I've read the list on coconut milk and there's not just 2 ingredients in it. So I was a little skeptical at first, but I decided, you know, it can't hurt to try it. So I did, and she recommends coconut flakes. So I have a jar here of coconut flakes. I usually pack them full in this. I got these coconut flakes from our natural health food store. Unfortunately, they did come in a plastic packaging. I did put it in this jar to keep longer, so it would be exposed to air through the packaging, and I wouldn't have to put it in a Ziploc bag. So I did unfortunately have a bag that I could not recycle. So I was even kind of looking at another way to possibly buy coconut flakes. And the only other way that I could find is the shredded coconut. And it's at, for those of you that live around here, it's called Lee's Marketplace. And they have a bulk food section of shredded, unsweetened shredded coconut. And that's what both these are. They're unsweetened. That's what she recommends. And I recommend it as well. To me, I didn't find much difference versus the shredded coconut and the flaked coconut. I did not find a difference at all when drinking it and making it. Not much of a difference. There's a little bit when you're in the process of making it, having the shredded coconut versus the flaked coconut, and I'll tell you that the reasoning behind that and what it is. But so I still have these, and I still use I'll still use these and finish these off. I did end up buying another bag of the shredded coconut because we have 2 Smith stores, but only one of them carry the shredded coconut in bulk. And I did not know that, but I was out of it and I needed to buy it, and I didn't want to drive all the way in, because the one that carries it is all the way in, like in Logan area instead of our Smithville area, and so it was a further drive for me. I know that shouldn't really be an excuse, but I let it be, and so I did have another bag, unfortunately. But the one cool thing that I did get from the bag was there's some recipes on it, and one was how to make your own homemade bacon bits by using coconut. So I'm going to post that because I think it would be a great video, especially for vegans. That way, because whether you've gone vegan or been vegan almost your whole life, it's something I would miss would be bacon bits. And I also haven't had them very often because most bacon bits contain wheat, and I try to stay away from wheat as much as I can. Being not completely gluten-free, just gluten intolerant, but I try to be gluten-free so I'm not in too much pain. So that's kind of the 2 that you can use. So I'll probably not use this one anymore for my milk. I'll just use it to make the bacon bits, especially if my family likes it, because I think it would be a great alternative. So I'll make it, even if I have to do like a smaller recipe, and half it, so that way I can make it first, make sure it turns out, and then I'll make a video of me making it for you guys. So, but with that being said, how you make coconut milk, all it is the coconut, shredded coconut or the coconut flakes, and hot water. That's your 2 ingredients, which honestly it can't get much simpler than that. Because most people that are trying to do things more naturally or going waste free usually have some form of coconut on hand. Obviously you couldn't make coconut milk out of like coconut oil or anything, but if you have shredded coconut, you can make coconut milk out of it, or coconut flakes. So the ratios that I use are different than hers, and that's what kind of makes mine and the lady's recipes different. I made it the first way I made it the way she made it, and it was really good. but I also found for me that it wasn't too strong, but then when I was tasting, I'm like, I think I could make it weaker and I would still be okay with it. And I would save my coconut shredded coconut and not have to use as much, and then it would last me longer too. So my ratio is a cup of the coconut, whether it's shredded coconut or flaked coconut. It's 1 cup. You don't have to compact it, just dump it in a measuring cup, 1 cup, and then it's best to make this with some type of a mixer, like a Vitamix blender mixer type of a thing. So I use my mom's Vitamix because that's the only blender I have at this point in my life since moving back home. So you dump your coconut flakes or shredded coconut, 1 cup of it, into your mixer, your blender, and then you get 4 cups of hot water and you dump it on top of that. Now some people could buy like purified water or distilled water, and you can use any of that. I just use our tap water. We have a boiling tap water faucet that the water comes out near boiling point, and that works great for me, so I don't have to heat the water up or anything. It's one less step for me. That's probably why it's so quick for me to make. And then you dump the 4 cups into your Vitamixer, your blender, whatever you want to call it, I guess. And then what I like to do to help soften it up is I like to put the lid on it, and I'll just set it somewhere and set a timer for 10 minutes and let it sit for 10 minutes to help soak and soften up the shredded coconut or the flakes. And then after it's been sitting for 10 minutes, I then put it onto the blender and I blend it up. I think she recommends for like a minute or 2, but I usually blend it up until, to me, the color of it looks like milk, and usually for me that's like 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and that's like it. Sometimes I do it longer depending on how much creaminess of a milk I want. I'm not usually too picky on that. And then after that, I like to pull off the lid and either leave it in the Vitamix. If I'm only making 1 batch, I'll leave it in the Vitamix and let it cool for 10 minutes. If I'm making another batch, then I'll dump it into a tall container, whether it's a pitcher or a Tupperware that's just tall enough to fit it all in, and then I dump it in there and let it cool for 10 minutes while I'm doing another batch. I usually do in batches of 2, especially if I don't make up anymore, I run out. 1 batch will fill one of these jars completely full, which is awesome. Like, super awesome, especially if you get a good deal on your coconut, because like you can't buy that much coconut like milk for the price that you'd buy for that 1 cup of coconut. Like seriously, if you think about it, then you're saving tons of money by doing it this way. So after you do that, I'm going to show you. So here's my jar of coconut milk. Honestly, if I didn't tell you it was coconut milk, you would probably think it was regular, probably fresh milk, but this is coconut milk. This is, I'll explain the process of what I do after. So she has you put it through a cheesecloth and a strainer, one of those fine mesh strainers. But I found with me, I don't need to do both, because if I have a little bit of the pulp in mine, I don't mind too much. I don't do a cheesecloth in mine since I used it the first like 2 times, because it's just a hassle. So I don't do that anymore, and I find it works just fine. And after you put it into your fine mesh strainer, you push with your hands or wooden spoon to get all the milk you can out of that. So however big you have of a mesh strainer, I would get at least that big of a bowl. And then just be careful if your strainer is like plastic around the edge and has plastic hooks, because you push too hard, you're going to break those. We have a metal one that has metal rings on the outside, so I can push hard as I want and it won't break. And then you do that until you get all the moisture out of the coconut, shredded coconut, that's what's left of it, so the coconut pulp. And you're going to use that, so do not throw it away. You can use that and turn it into something else, which we'll talk about in a minute. But after, you would pour it from that container, after you got all of the coconut pulp out, you'd pour it into a container. I use just mason jars, and then it wipes off, but I have a permanent marker that I write across here what it is, and I put it in the fridge. I don't put a date on it because I seem to drink it pretty fast. I made this 2 days ago, haven't had any yet. Maybe it was a day ago. I made it yesterday, it was a day ago. I haven't had any yet, but when I'm done with this video, I'm going to have a nice big glass of it because I love it when it's cold. And so I don't drink it right when it comes out because the milk is still hot because of the hot water you put in it. And then you're going to let it you're going to put it in here, put it in your fridge. I recommend 24 hours of it sitting in your fridge because you will have coconut cream of solid that will sit on top. I can't show you because I already cleaned this out, but you're going to go in there, and I usually just break it up with the spoon into a couple big chunks, and then I scoop it out. And that's what I've done here. This is the coconut cream that I scooped out. So let me pull out a piece. See, I just broke it off into some big chunks so I could pick it up out of the milk, and then I put it here in the jar. And for any of you that have opened a can of coconut milk, you know this cream sits on top of it and your milk's underneath. Again, do not throw this away. You're going to use it. So after that, I put it through a strainer. Again, after I get the big chunks out, I'll put it through another mesh strainer and get the smaller chunks out. The smaller chunks are, if you can see, there's a few smaller chunks here and some at the bottom. And I put it into the cup with this. And then I put it back in here, put it back in the fridge, and you can drink it after you do that. When I was straining last it out again, I got some more pulp out of it. And that pulp, there was only there was less than a quarter size, so I just put that in my compost bucket because I had already used the other pulp for its purpose, and I didn't want to hold on to that because I've never held on to any of the little stuff. I just put it in my compost bucket. So then you'll have this product, and that's finished in the fridge. You can use it, but now you're left with the pulp and with the cream. So what you're going to do with the pulp first, which I think is completely amazing, especially if you use it. If not, you can give it away as gifts. You are going to turn that pulp into coconut flour. And yes, I just said coconut flour. So that's going to be like super amazing and awesome, because for those of you that buy anything that does with coconut, you know it's super expensive. So making coconut flour so you can use it for whatever the purpose you use it for is like truly amazing. So I think I've done 3 double batches of this, and I have a full jar of coconut flour. I haven't used it. If this, I had a better picture on this, you would see some color differentiate from like the batches. And the color just depends on how long you cook it. So what you'll do with it, you'll spread the pulp. You don't have to spray the cookie sheet. You'll spread it on a cookie sheet till it's nice thin layers. Usually if it's double batch, it covers 1 whole cookie sheet for me. And then you preheat your oven to 250, okay? And then you'll put it in the oven, and it can take anywhere from 1.5 hours to 3 hours until your coconut flour is done. And you just stir it every 15 minutes and then kind of spread it back out. I use a wooden spoon and just drag it through it a couple times and then kind of push it down and spread it back out until it looks. The reason you stir it is so it evenly cooks. My last batch I didn't. I stirred it once and then I had to pull it out so we can make dinner, and then I put it back in, stir it once, and then left it in for like 1 hour because I actually forgot about it. But it didn't burn, it didn't go bad or anything. It's actually what's on the top part of this. And then it cools pretty fast once you pull it out of the oven. The only reason it stays hot is because of the pan that it sits on. And that cools, well, at least mine cools down pretty pretty quickly. So now I have a whole jar. And for those of you that don't know what to use coconut flour for, I will be doing a separate video about different things that I'm going to be using my coconut flour for. So I will do a separate video on that. But if you want to know more about it, leave it in the comments, and the more comments I get for it, the more I will bump that video up to the top of my list to do, because I have a lot of videos that I want to do. So you just made 2 jars of coconut milk. The reason this one is not as full is because you do lose about that much space because of the coconut cream, and I filled my other jar all the way to the top up here, and so that's about how much coconut cream I have in here. But again, it's not a bad thing because you're going to use it. So you just use all that coconut pulp, and I did this before I got that little tiny piece out, so that's why I put it in the compost. But this is super quick and easy, and you can be doing this while you're like cleaning your house. Like, this doesn't take time away from my days when I do it. Like, it's something I can forget about, set a timer, and then like, oh, the timer went off, go and stir it, set it again, and go back and do whatever I was doing. So it's something quick and easy to do. And then the last thing is your coconut cream. I apologize for this long video, but I wanted to get all the information in, so I hope you watched it to the end. With the coconut cream, there's a lot of things you can do, but what I do with it is I use it to make my own coconut oil. And yes, you heard me right. You can use the coconut cream to make coconut oil. I got this from a different YouTuber, well, actually from several. I watched a bunch of different videos trying to figure out what I could do with the cream because I didn't want to throw it away. So what you'll do with this, and what I'll do with it later tonight, is you'll dump it in a pan and you turn it on a low to medium heat until it's all melted. And you're going to sit there and you're going to cook it and cook it. And you're going to keep cooking it until you get these little tiny like sand type pebbles of brown hard coconut that's left. And then you'll see the oil everywhere else except for those brown pebbles. And after that, you're going to pull it off, let it cool for a minute, strain out those the impurities, the brown pebblish pieces, and then you'll put the coconut oil once it cools into your bottle. I didn't bring my bottle in, but mine's just an old soda bottle. Yes, it's an old soda bottle. One I cannot recycle up here, so I am reusing it. And I think I have probably a half a cup in there now from all the batches I did. So 2 batches gave me a half a cup of coconut oil, which honestly, that's not bad. Excuse me. And so that's how I store it. This I just stored in the fridge open like this. I've done it before for, I don't do it for long. Usually it's just usually it's about 24 hours after I pull it out. And then that is how you make coconut milk and coconut flour and coconut oil from like a cup of, technically 2 cups of coconut flakes or shredded coconut. So if you want me to do a video of showing you how to turn this into coconut oil, the steps and stuff, I can do that. And then same with the coconut flour. I promise that I will make that video. And so that is the steps of how to make coconut milk. I am going to let this video end since we're almost at 24 minutes. And I know it's just a lot of talking, but it's informational, and I hope it helps. And then I will make the video of the process of me doing all 3 of these things that you can do with when you're making the coconut milk. And there won't be as much talking in there because I put it all in here. And then I hope you guys give me a thumbs up. I hope you leave some comments. Let me know if this video was helpful. If you want to look me up on Facebook or Instagram, I don't do too much on Instagram. I'm just barely getting back in the swing of things with that, but I'm going to try to get better with that. This is more of a personal video blog, like I've said before in previous ones. So negative comments and things like that will be completely ignored because I don't like bringing negativity into my life, so I will ignore any of that. And then I will read and like and try to get back to all the comments that are made on these videos. I'm just starting out, so I'm hoping these can help you and benefit you. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I hope you guys have a good New Year's tomorrow. See you guys.